How's it going, guys? This is going to be a little video on a couple mastering techniques, mid-side mastering techniques. Two, actually. The first one was brought to my attention by my friend John, who produces under the name Force Legato. And he had a question about something Maarten Vorwerk was talking about. If you don't know who Maarten Vorwerk is, he is a famous EDM ghost producer. But he had some mid-side techniques, and I wanted to try it in this new song that I'm mastering. The second tip comes from KSHMR himself, so you know it's going to be good. All right, so let me just show you the before and after. I'm just experimenting with these techniques right now, but let me play this track that I'm mastering. It's one that I just made, and I'm going to actually release a tutorial on YouTube showing how I made the track from scratch. And yeah, so here's the before and after. Let's start with before some mastering. All right, so I hope that gave you some demonstration. To me, it just opens up the whole mix. Now, I really want to just show you the two mid-side techniques. So all that's going on here with this compressor here, the API, is just a tiny amount of gain reduction. Barely anything. The important thing here is this link is on independent, so the left and the right channels get compressed independently of each other. And then I just have some imaging, and I'm only doing imaging on the this kind of high mid band and then the top, and then there's nothing else here. I'm not putting this to mono because I'm actually taking away the low end on the side chain here. All right, but yeah, so just a little gain reduction, a little widening at the above around 1K. And then here's the good stuff. Here are the two mid-side techniques. The first thing you do is you just separate out the track into mid and side. And the way that I do that is I use Ozone 7 here. And on this mid chain, all I've done is I've have these three modules, and they're all set to mid and soloed. All right, and then same with the side chain. I know that's a bit ambiguous. It's not side chaining, but this side chain in the rack, I'm sure you understand. And then here on the side, it's literally the exact same thing except the opposite. So I guess it's not even close to the same thing. But you're selecting the side, making sure you're on mid-side mode, and soloing the side information. Okay, so that's the first thing, is making sure that the routing is right, which is pretty basic. The basic idea here that Maarten Vorwerk was talking about was that you want to compress the low end of the middle channel. And so that's what I've done. In the dynamic section, the only thing that's going on is in this band right here, the sub. I set it to 200, and let's go ahead and solo this. So this is the compression that's going on in the sub. And so without it, with it, just gives a lot more presence to the low end there in the center channel. Now these are actually Ozone's default settings, which I really actually like, the 20 milliseconds and the 60 millisecond release. I tend to come back to these. Sometimes though, with the attack, what I recommend is if you want to let a little bit more kick through, then pull the attack back, because that's going to let the transient of the kick through. And if you want to like, I guess, level out the transient of the kick with the bass to make them more even dynamically, then bring the attack down, because that'll tame the transient of the kick relative to the bass. And 20 milliseconds makes them pretty even to my ear. You can hear the bass on the off note is pretty similar to the transient of the kick. The kick is just a little bit louder, but I really like that relationship there, because I think it it adds to the gallop of the bass that I have. 60 millisecond release is really good because it's basically a 30-second note at a 124 or even just 120, any kind of dance track around 120. 60 milliseconds is about a 30-second note. And so my track, the bass line, it's a 303 type bass line, so it's basically 16th notes. And so 16th notes in a dance track are typically going to be around 120 milliseconds. So this release time is definitely going to give the compressor time to recover before the next 16th note occurs. So I again, just going over these attack and release times, they really actually work pretty well. I don't deviate very much. Sometimes I'll increase or decrease the attack, but the release tends to stay the same. And so most of the interesting things happen on the side chain here. I'm not going to go into that again. All right, so this is what's going on the sides. Now, as I said, I'm not doing any imaging on the sub range here. I'm not collapsing it down to mono or anything like that. But what I am doing is in this EQ section, I'm taking away the low end. I'm also taking away a little bit of harshness on the clap, but that's not what this video is about. And then with the dynamic section, I'm doing a little bit of stuff with the mids and the highs here, but the important thing is this low mid channel. Maarten Vorwerk was saying what you should do is compress the low mids without any makeup gain. As you can see here with the gain, there's nothing making it up, because what that's going to do is create extra space around and slightly above the kick on the side, so the kick's actually going to have a bigger presence in the mix. And so as you can see here with the attack, I've brought down the attack just a little bit because I want to take away a little bit of the transient to make sure that the kick transient doesn't have anything interfering with it. And yes, the kick transient is a mono signal and this is purely side signal, but I don't want any transient in the stereo image whatsoever interfering with the kick. So I brought the attack down just a little bit. And so it's really just a matter of setting the compression. And let me go ahead and solo. And so what I'm listening for is just making sure it's pretty even and that nothing's really popping out in that range. I want it to just be really controlled dynamically and pulled back. So even right there, I wasn't as aggressive as I could be with the initial setting at -34. Let's see where I can go with it. I could probably go down to around -36. See, that sounds a lot more controlled dynamically. All right, and so that's the idea. That's Maarten Vorwerk's trick, is coming over to the mid channel and then compressing the sub. Okay, just to give it a little bit more presence. That's what compression does. It moves things forward in the mix. And so compressing the sub of the mid channel and then compressing the low mids of the side channel just to give a lot of extra space both around and above, slightly above the kick. And it really is a really good trick. As soon as John told me about it, I was like, wow, that's probably going to work really well. So definitely something I'm going to add to my mastering chain here. The last trick is KSHMR's trick, which is very simple. It's applying a enveloper like LFO Tool to the side channel. And so what it's doing is just taking away, he actually didn't go into the specifics about whether he likes to use the same envelope that he uses for like the bass bus on during this trick. But what I did is I just took away the transient, and just like I was talking about how on the side channel, what I like to do is to have a faster attack on this low mid band right here, slightly faster attack. Same thing with this. I'm taking away the transient so that no transients are interfering with the transient of the kick in the center channel. And then so I guess it's a matter of just like lifting this until you get the clarity, but you don't take away any excitement from the sides. So that's really, it's just a balancing act. And so right around after 25, you could hear the clap start to go away. on the side, they start to kind of collapse to the center. But the important thing about those collapse was that they were wide. Now I could do the split function and just apply this processing to the low end, but I haven't experimented with that. You could certainly experiment with it, but just try this as well, just taking away the transient on the sides. And to you, it might sound like the image is slightly collapsing, which of course it is, because we're taking away side information. But instead of paying attention to what's being taken away, listen to the clarity that you get in the center channel with the kick and the bass. It's just like ever present with these two techniques. But anyway, those are the two techniques that I wanted to show you. I wanted to show you Maarten Vorwerk's, where you compress the low end in the center channel, then you compress the low mids in the side channel, and it just creates a lot of space around that center channel kick and bass, giving it a lot of presence and clarity and depth and definition. And then finally, KSHMR's trick of just enveloping the side information is just really cool. I'm definitely going to use both of these tricks. I'm going to experiment with them more, but even at this first time when I was messing around with them, it definitely improved the mix that I had. It opened it up in every single dimension for some interesting reasons. When you get that presence and clarity in the low end and the center channel, what that does is it allows your ear and mind to kind of separate it from the top channel, and so this trick actually kind of stretches the track vertically. But at the same time, since you have that clarity in the center channel, it allows you to separate that center channel from the sides, from the side information, which also kind of gives you a little bit more width, a little bit more clarity in the stereo image. And then when you bring the kick and the bass forward in the mix, it actually gives separation to the front and the back of the mix, so it gives you more depth. And so this trick is so simple, but these tricks are so simple, but they really just help the mix expand dimensionally. I hope that makes sense. But if you have any questions, leave them down below in the comment section. I thought this was really cool, and I really hope it helps you. Until next time, peace.